Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. Thank you for listening to Hyphenate with Randy Randall. That is me. On today's show, I have my very good friend, Mr. Oliver Ackerman. You know him from A Place to Burry Strangers. Incredibly loud, destructive, stroby, annihilating band, Place to Burry Strangers, as well as the incredible guitar effects pedal company, Death by Audio. Oliver is an incredible example of what I mean when I say a hyphenate. He's totally the whole package of doing one thing, and why not do 10 other things at the same time while we're at it. Outside of doing the band and the pedals, he also has an arcade company, which you'll hear him talk about a little bit, as well as a record label, Dead Strange, who put out my last record. So record label, band, pedal company, arcade company. He also was involved in a venue, Death by Audio, or DBA, as an incredible venue in Brooklyn. And it was really a treat to sit down with the man and talk about all things Oliver Ackerman. So here we go. Cool, man.
Sweet. Heck, what's that poster behind you, Randy?
Ooh, that is a fleece blanket of a Spanish poster of the Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
And the show is called Hyphenate. And so my idea behind this was I wanted to talk with people that do more than one thing. And when I think about people that do more than one thing and are well known for doing more than one thing, I think of Oliver Ackerman, star and head honcho of A Place to Burry Strangers, as well as big boss man behind DBA. So tell me a little bit about how do those, maybe first sort of describe each of those things for people that aren't immediately familiar with those, with both institutions, and how do they come about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Death by Audio is an effects pedal company, and it was started in, I think, 2002, and it was just me sort of building effects pedals, and then as time goes on, kind of grew into more and more effects pedals and working with more and more people, and then it eventually turned into a venue and branched off as like an arcade brand and all sorts of things. But and then A Place to Burry Strangers is a band that started when I moved to New York in like 2003, and then kind of just, I don't know, we sort of got lucky with a rave Pitchfork review once, and then
I've heard of that.
And then so I don't know, tour all over the world and play shows and record albums, and started a record label and stuff. Kind of a lot of different things.
Yeah, and what inspires you to do so many things, or was there ever? I mean, what. Was there a precedent that you think you were going, that you had like a path you had seen, like, oh, I can take the steps in these footsteps, or did you really feel off in your own wild world?
I think I'm just an idiot. I think that it's like, all these things seem like attractive and fun kind of to do. And so you sort of want to do a little bit of everything. And, when you start to realize that you kind of can put things together, and it just sort of can take a lot of hard work. All you got to do is sort of declare yourself, hey, we're in a band, hey, this is a company or something, you just sort of, forget about some of maybe like the things that would, be like a wall for other people not to start these things. And then you just sort of dive in and, I don't know, fall in love with all the work that you're doing and kind of continue doing it. And I love to work on stuff, so I'm constantly kind of jumping between all of these different things. And then that starts to sort of really build something the more you do those things. And as that happens, then it builds into something else, and you start to be able to quit your day job and uh, work on these things
It's
full
amazing.
time.
Oh, I think laundry's done.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that
I
you?
heard it
It's on your
too.
side. Okay.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
not too far from my laundry setup either. It could have possibly
Sure.
be me.
Cool.
What was I going to say? Oh, so and then with pedals, why, how? I mean, I also play guitar and have pedals, but I've never made a pedal. Where did that first happen, and how did you were you shocking
I mean,
yourself a lot?
totally, definitely. But it would started to happen. I was living in Virginia, and we had this band. That was like my high school band, and it was going on kind of after high school. And we really tried so hard to like book tours and play crazy shows, whatever we possibly could. Constantly like silk screening flyers, and we had our own record label, and we're trying to put out other bands' music, and do as much as we possibly can, and kind of to no avail. So it's like, you'd go record at some studio somewhere, and it was obviously some guy who liked country music or something and not our kind of music at all. So terrible fit, because we're like out of our element. And so you start to want to like figure out how can you do all of these things. And so, you start to get 4-track tape machines, and then you get the 6-track tape machine, and then you get a computer recording setup and all this. And then also at that time you're trying to think like, how can we make this band like insane and crazy? And so you're taking and you're trying to modify your guitars, and you're modifying your amplifiers, and then you're like, what, there's only like 10 different types of effects. Maybe there's some other cool effects that are out there that nobody else has heard of before. And so you just kind of dive down all those sort of rabbit holes. And I was just trying to like teach myself how to solder. I was trying to mod gear and breaking it. I was trying to get my hands on whatever I possibly could. I was reading books about electronics and just not understanding any of them. And then slowly, eventually over time, some things start to make some sense. You eventually figured out how to solder, and then all of this is sort of building a language and excitement. And is that before the time of like YouTube and all this stuff that sort of now are so helpful, but also kind of other weird, wasteful forms of energy too. Like I find myself like watching videos and not like doing stuff or something sometimes, but, this was the time when you kind of, I don't know, you were just sitting around almost bored. So it is the middle of the night. I'm going to try to tear this apart, try to build this thing. And I don't know, sometimes it would work.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm trying. I was looking around. I still have my first book. I bought there was like the big, kind of almost like large format, almost the size of like a Rolling Stone or like a Spin magazine thing of like how to build guitar pedals or no, guitar pedals for musicians. Did you ever have
cool.
that?
Yeah, that's a
Do you
good
know
one.
what I'm talking
Yeah,
about? Like a
yeah.
book? Yeah. I remember getting that and looking at it and then just again, it was the all Greek and it just never, I was like, I think I'm just going to keep playing with this phaser I have. I'm not going to change anything. I need
That
another
book
phaser
is
maybe.
so tough as well. I tried to build things out of that. None of it worked. It was like, it's so miserable. Now I could build that, but I feel like there was things that were assumed that that they didn't tell you or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad
but
it wasn't just me. I thought
I
I
don't
was a
know.
dummy. I thought you read that book and it made sense to you.
Man, I think I even bought one of those kits and it didn't work and stuff. It was all, in some shoebox somewhere now, but
Yeah, I had the experience. My dad was an electrician, and
cool.
and he had he kind of made me not afraid to put wires together, but also just afraid enough to know like, well, this will shock you, and so we would put we just made it like an LED, like a flashing LED in a box, just to
cool.
show me kind of a simple circuit early. When I was young, I was probably too young to really appreciate it, but we had the little box, and then my brother put it in his car to make it look like he had a
car alarm.
Like car alarm, right? Like the fake car alarm. Like it's just a flashing red light. Like, oh, no one's gonna break into my car now. There's a flashing red light that I made with my dad.
Did it work? Did his car never get broken into? Probably, right?
Probably not. Probably not that one. He probably but then there was another one where I had this little tiny practice amp where I wanted to put. I figured out if you put the headphones into the input, it would oscillate. It'd make this thing. And so I had this thought like, well, but it would also cut out. It wouldn't go through the speaker. So like, can I have like just a separate headphone out or a separate, like and so my dad just split off of the speaker cable wire, and so it could go to the speaker and go to the headphone out, And so that was I think that was my biggest achievement of like of audio design that my dad helped me.
I mean, that's awesome. That's like, incredible. Yeah. That's such like a cool thing. It's, I don't know. Those are the things that kind of even changed my world with, with those like broken amplifiers or, that sound when the amp sounds like it's breaking or, it's these kind of moments where, I didn't have to be skilled at playing guitar or something, which really enticed me. It's like all those things. Like, there would be like some kid in high school would sit there and play the guitar all day, and I was like, "There's no hope that I'll ever be able to do what that guy's doing." It seemed like effects or some of this stuff was going to kind of fill in that gap, and seemed like some magic. I don't know, beans or something to grow a beanstalk of music.
And what was the first pedal that you felt was successful? Like what was the moment like, because so obviously I did all these little things but never really felt like I could monetize it or make a jump to making as a company. But where was that, was there a flight switch or was it just kind of like you're one of your buddies with like, oh, like my friend would pay you $10 for that thing, or how did that turn?
I mean, I really was kind of in a bind. I wanted to go on this backpacking trip to Europe for a month, and I didn't have a job, and I was living in this warehouse that we had built out to be like practice spaces, and I just had this idea for like the craziest, simplest pedal, which is like a forced feedback loop, which was the first Death by Audio pedal, and then I thought this would be like a make enough money to go on this trip because the effect basically was your speaker splitter into the headphones amp, basically into a pedal. And, it's kind of dumb, but I felt like people should push more experimental music kind of. And I thought like everything is always so geared towards all these like weird metal people or something, or this strange soft alternative rock or something. And so it was like, this just seemed like it would like fuck up the industry or something. And,
just something small. No big goals. Just always want to fuck up the whole industry.
No big goals, take down Napster, or something. But, so this was the idea, and I thought I could kind of make enough money to sort of go on this trip. So I thought Death by Audio sounded like a cool name. Total Sonic Annihilation was the name of the pedal. I thought it would like inspire people to fuck shit up. And, it was enough to make some quick cash to go on that trip. So it was really like short-sighted. I mean, this whole plan came together in like a month or something. And wow. I'd made these sales and made this pedal, and the whole design of it was to make something that was like super easy, and I felt beyond confident that I could come out with, so there was other designs and stuff I had done and built for myself, but it was really kind of even, what sometimes people say, but is sort of smart, is like start your business small, or, or something like, sometimes I feel like people try to dive in so big with some of these things, and you got to kind of feel out what are all the kinks and the quirks, and especially being like a sole business owner and, doing all the work and stuff yourself. So, but I think just having dove in and jumping and making that jump and making quick decisions to just do it and say hell with it, here's my shot, I'm going to try to do it, is really one of the things which I think holds most people back from this stuff. And sure, the design isn't perfect, and in some ways, like I look back on it and I'm like, was that, is that kind of even, you have all sorts of questions. Was this a lame product to come out with? Is this like not it doesn't matter. Is this like, I don't know, whatever, all these different things. Oh, I should have done it like this, or I could have done it like that, or all these things. But it's just good to just get it out there. Same thing with like recording a record or something. You could spend years on an album or mixing the perfect song, but usually it doesn't sound better than like when the like original idea was kind of conceived. So sort of almost like come up with as many ideas as you possibly can and try to make that shit happen. I don't know.
No, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, I think it's, instead of getting hung up on something, it's like I have spent, so little time going back over the first songs I ever wrote or first songs I recorded and pulling my hair out about it because it's done. It's over. And I already recorded it. I played it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, whether I play it live tonight, 20 years later, 30 years later or not, then I can go, well, that was for that place in time. I don't necessarily feel comfortable, or I can't even figure out what the fuck I was playing. I don't even know what those notes are.
Yeah, what do you think about those early recordings and stuff? Or do you look back on them?
I don't think at all.
Or...
Yeah, totally.
Perfect.
I mean, I think of them as fond kind of moments. You know what I mean? I think it's I don't think I had any nightmares of heart on the sleeve, warbling that would cause embarrassment. If anything, it's I think it's very, it's the sound of somebody trying. And that's what I love to, when you, because we're fortunate enough that we're at a lot of, shows every night, whether we're playing them or seeing somebody else. But the best thing I love seeing, a new band that's just, they give a shit. They're trying. The worst thing I hate, I don't even care what genre of music it is or style or anything, but somebody up there who just really isn't trying or something. They're just, it's so disaffected or so not lazy, but just, I don't know, just aloof or something. It's like, dude, just, I'd rather, if you suck and mean it, that's the best part.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's really the coolest thing. And one of the things I just absolutely love about live music is that struggle that you're seeing right in front of your face of all of these things kind of going wrong or all these magical things that they do that's so great or whatever it is. I don't know, that sort of real human aspect of it, which makes me not enjoy as much seeing shows at Madison Square Garden and stuff like that, or something. It's or it's a different thing. That's almost like seeing a movie or something, it's weirdly but seeing shows at DIY spaces or small cafes and stuff are the coolest. I feel like you've really seen someone at such in their naked moments or something.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's inspiring. But what was it like for you growing up? Where did you go to the Madison Square Garden, the big arena type shows or the big theater shows? And what was your first sort of exposure to the smaller stuff, or how was that journey like?
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of I guess lucky with friends who there wasn't even many of them, but bands who would just play the worst, shittiest events ever in any sort of event that they possibly could. It'd be in the mall parking lot, at some pit barbecue house, and this kind of stuff where it was and those shows were so awesome because it just felt you were going against the grain and you were there in this comfortable spot with just friends in some small town. It was, I don't know, it was just more of sort of a party or something that you were going to, and you felt like you were infiltrating what the normal life was. I guess what it feels like to be a high schooler and out and about on the town in some ways, where you think you're in some, I don't know, badass movie where it's you against the government or something, but not really, because the people at the Chick-fil-A don't care, or something. So
oh yeah. So no arena shows. No, you didn't see any arena shows. What were sort of the first musical inspirations, I guess, kind of speaking more to the Place to Burry Strangers, side of your brain?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it was my brother, he was into punk music and stuff. So that was a big inspiration, just even, listening to some of that stuff and the car and whatnot, or taking his record collection and then going to go see shows was really pretty much mostly small ass kind of DIY sort of shows. I mean, I didn't even think of it as a DIY sort of experience at that time, really. And then going to college, I was going to college in Rhode Island at the time when bands like Lightning Bolt and Landed and stuff and Black Dice were all just starting up and playing shows. So that was just a whole world of just absolute insanity and awesome, crazy warehouse shows where I was this is the fucking best shit ever. It's it was totally so fucking cool. And, that's really kind of what made me sort of fall in love with all of warehouses and all of the possibilities that you could do in there and everything that you could possibly make happen. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, now I always want to live where I work and work all the time and do all, I don't know, be in weird hand-built spaces and all of those things. So, yeah.
That's incredible. So that was really the transformation was, sort of from small town Virginia backyard barbecue shows and then into the RISD sort of early
totally.
RISD vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that those things were like sort of what I always wanted to do in the small town backyard barbecue shows. You know, it was like finally people were actually doing it like to the degree. And then it was all surrounded by people who were also creating incredible artwork all over the place. So it was just such like a world of everyone exploring the craziest fucked up shit possible. And then there were like, you know, shows being thrown by kids who probably shouldn't throw shows, who were like, let's start a fire in a train tunnel, you know, and like bring a generator down there, you know, and it's like, like my mom would have killed me if she found out that I was going to that show, you know, or something, but it was just like awesome, you know, so yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, these last two runs we did, we had Joel Kayak, who was in Landed, in Six Finger Satellite. He was opening some shows, and then we had
So
Bjorn
cool.
and Aaron from you know, Black Dice and other Flaccid Mojo, and it's, you know what I mean, and it was one of those things where, you know, there's so much hero worship from Dean and I really trying to play it cool, you know what I mean, but they were both so nice to share stories of the time and place, because, you know, Southern California, you know, seemed like a million miles away from you know, Rhode Island, and, you know, that kind of stuff, and Fort Thunder, and, you know, we would hear tell, and we would, you know, dispatches from the front line of you know, the war on sound, and it was very inspiring to what we were doing in the smell. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
What was it like up in the smell in the early days and stuff, I guess, or, you know,
yeah.
what was that like? Was it bands who were on tour as well, going and playing Fort Thunder, also playing at the smell and stuff, or
I think there was some
or was
crossover
that
for
different
sure.
time? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the smell had a big touring contingency. I think the smell was born out of, you know, Jabberjaw being shut down, and so there was definitely a tour sort of vibe there. But I think, you know, the smell is, you know, had its own sort of challenges of just being a crusty, smelly little spot originally, and then a crusty, smellier, bigger spot, and once it moved to downtown. But for me, I grew up in a small suburb outside of LA, and it was, you know, I only knew like the big commercial radio stuff of K-Rock and MTV. I didn't really have access. You know, there was a small college town, Claremont, where you could kind of get a little bit of a coffee house vibe going. But
Were you
same
playing
thing.
guitar at the time?
Yeah, I started guitar around 12, and
Oh,
but it never took lessons. You know, I could relate to when you were saying, you know, just looking for things to do that weren't musical, that still involved the instrument. At one point, the summer, I think when I was 14, my dad forced my brother and I to, or didn't for, you know, but we redid the roof on the house, and my brother fell through the ceiling, you know, fell through the joist, and then punched a hole in the ceiling in my room. So then once we got it all closed up, there was just this giant hole, and a rat died in our little attic space, and so it was just kind of wafting right into my room because there was a big hole there. And so I had this ladder, kind of like holding like a piece of wood up in or something. There was a metal ladder in my room for months, and so I used the metal ladder to create feedback and sort of rub the guitar against it. You know, very disciple of Thurston Moore, Sonic Youth, kind of just rubbing things, guitar, you know, drumsticks and stuff on the strings, but I'd try to create feedback. I'd like hang the guitar off of the ladder, and with the strings vibrating against the ladder, and turn up all the amps, or have a splitter, you know, my stereo phaser and split, and then try to create a feedback kind of thing in the room. But again, but it involved nothing of me learning a D chord or a C chord or any kinds of chord shapes. But I wanted to make those rackets and those sounds. So that, you know, but that being said, once I found the smell, it was like, I think I could work. I think these are my people. I think I could play this weird music that I like to make at places like this.
So cool.
Yeah. And then, the wildness and craziness was abound.
Did you ever work at the smell?
I did. Yeah, I started off. It was all kind of volunteer basis, and I think work is a loose word, so it would mean there was money being exchanged. But mostly it was just kind of, you hang out long enough till you get put to work. I'll go, hey, can you just stamp this guy's hand? I'm going to go to the bathroom. And so I was just hanging out at the front door anyway. It's like, oh, I'm going to start stamping this guy's hand. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm the door guy now. And then same thing, hanging out by the sound booth long enough. Like, hey, can you go get me a microphone, or can you get this cable? And then eventually learn how to kind of do sound. And then, but also involved a lot of sweeping and a lot of, you know, cleaning up and, you know, figuring it out. And eventually,
everybody's got to do that stuff.
But that was fun though. I mean, that was all part of. I had nowhere else to be. I didn't have anything else to do. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
I was around live music, and again, it was transformational. You know, just seeing that people just giving it their all.
It's so cool. There's even an outlet for like kids doing that stuff. It's like we would spend so much time like hanging out at like Waffle House and Denny's and all these places because if you're not the age of drinking, there's nothing to do really for a lot of kids. And I don't know. And then when you are the age of drinking, it's like, wow, the one outlet that everyone has is they can go get drunk. Like what a weird society we live in. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like such a strange, like, built up form of like entertainment system or something for people. Just seems kind of messed up, like why aren't there more sort of like things to kind of do late at night and all that stuff. So when there's venues and there's culture going on and all that, I think it's like so important for kids all over, and it was so cool and helpful for me to go to those shows at like community centers or whatever the heck was going on and be able to hang out with people and do stuff. And if it had been something that was maybe like formal, like some weird dance or something, I would have just felt like so out of place and just bizarre about the whole thing. So I don't know.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I think about that a lot. The it has to be just dangerous enough. You know what I mean? Like the all ages space is a duck of many colors, or you know what I mean? It can be a strange looking animal when it works, because you would think normally, well, you got to have all the lights turned on and have to have security and everybody. There's children here, by God. There's people who are under the age of drinking. You can't just have them wandering around downtown alleyways with danger. But the danger is part of what makes it work, and that's hard. That's a hard balance to get right. But you also don't want to subject, people to a horror show or get robbed or kidnapped or something.
I know that. Yeah, that is a weird thing. It is
a fine line.
And yeah, it is that time too when you're like a kid and you really want to be independent. You want to be treated like as someone who can be trusted or something, and yet you want to experience like the most crazy shit you possibly can. I mean, I don't know. It's like, you can't like be totally safe and win and whatever, but that's part of, I guess, like life and those things.
Yeah, you got to get in just enough over your head to where you got to figure it out, figure your way out. You can't. Yeah. But if you didn't get in over your head, then you would never be forced to learn anything new or fix something. Like if that amp wasn't on fire, right? You wouldn't really have to figure it out.
Totally. And then when you survived it, then you wouldn't be like, oh, I can light this amp on fire on purpose.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Yeah, exactly. So I have like nerdy questions. I mean, I think what pedals were you playing before you created your own? Like, and then what I mean? What was sort of the pedalscape looking like that you enjoyed before you sort of cracked it and recreated it?
Let's see. I mean, my first pedal was a Ibanez Power Lead. So it was like this super fuzzy kind of pedal. I thought it sounded pretty cool. I don't know if it still sounds cool. I don't have it anymore. There was we had the DoD Classic Fuzz. That was another pedal I remember of those early days. There was a Lafayette like echo chamber kind of unit. We had a Sansui 6-track, which had this crazy awesome reverb in it. Crybaby wah pedal. At one time I thought, once I started really kind of having a direction, I wanted to get like as many chorus pedals as possible. So I used to play bass with like 5 chorus pedals on it once, kind of give sort of a reverby sort of sound. I don't know. It's, after that, it kind of gets a little bit blurry. I'm not quite sure exactly. I used to then buy whatever I possibly could at like pawn shops. So there's lots of those like weird kind of our standard sort of Boss pedals and DoD and whatnot. Probably had the, hyper metal and LA distortion and whatever all that stuff was.
My first pedal was this pink DoD, the Thrashmaster.
Oh, cool!
Real bright pink. Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then
the Power Lead was pink too.
Yeah, right. There's just something about that age, you know. Yeah. And then was it Guitar Centers, or where were your like places you were searching for? You know, thrift stores and things, but
Yeah, so it was like, pawn shops were like kind of a big thing, and then there was some guitar stores, but they were like real unfriendly. The ones, or some of them were, where it would be like, "Oh, you want to
yeah.
try out that pedal? Cool, man!" And the guy would grab the pedal and play us some licks on it, and he's like, "Sounds pretty cool," and then take it back, and you'd be like, "Well, I wanted to play it," that kind of thing. But then in Rhode Island, there was Daddy's Junkie Music, and they would have all sorts of like broken and crazy shit. That was cool. I don't know, but yeah, I don't even know if I had heard about Guitar Center until like way later in life. So
Okay.
there wasn't even that stuff. There was like, I didn't even realize it was like Sam Ash, but there was that street in New York, and I guess there's like, like 4 Sam Ash stores and a bunch of other music stores, and that's still around, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There would be
What were
weird things called like Mars Music or something, or I don't know.
Yeah. What were those pedals that had like the bubble buttons? Do you remember it was like the plastic kind of rubber, like that bubbled up? You'd press that down.
Oh, like
black.
PV did one of them. There was what the heck was that called? It was like a guy's name, like RL Briggs or something, or CE something or other.
That sounds right.
They did one of those services. I did have that PV, the reverb one. It was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
was one
amazing.
of my earlier pedals. That rings a bell. Yeah. I don't know.
And you've definitely have seen, sort of the transformation or covetization or deification of the guitar pedal, right? I mean, it might sound different, or for younger people that are now, or people who have just recently or within the last 10 years gotten into, understanding these boutique world, but pedals were kind of almost seen like correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the pedals were almost like cheating, almost like plugins, like the way, if people use plugins now on stuff. And that was sort of in the early in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like if you had pedals or a lot of pedals, it was sort of seemed like you're not really playing guitar, which maybe you weren't, but also, you were cheating somehow.
Totally.
Like those were for cheaters, not for real guitar. Real guitar players plugged in direct.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. But then a lot of those bands that were playing with the things direct, I don't know, they were either like assholes, or they were kind of, into playing some sort of music, at least locally for me, that I wasn't really that into. And so it's a lot more of the experimental bands. That some band was trying to sound like Pink Floyd or something, where I was like, wow, that's so cool. And they'd have some silver box or something. And it was like, how is they making all that crazy sound with that silver box? Now sometimes you listen to those recordings and it sounds like the guy was playing direct anyways, but for some reason in your head, you think of all that stuff. But yeah, pedals were not such a crazy thing. Now, like we go to these like trade shows and stuff like NAMM or something, and there's people who collect this stuff who don't even play guitar really. It's just like blows my mind, like for me it wasn't, that'd be the only reason you'd want that thing, is to like unlock some crazy sounds you couldn't get anywhere, or, inspire some song or something. It's, other than that, why would you throw your money away for that thing? So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me, the gold edition of the EQ plugin or something. I mean, if like software,
yeah, exactly.
Limitations have not, they're not going to collect which version of. Oh, I have the first plugin they ever released. I mean, they made it better later, but the first one sounded like shit, and I like that one better. That's basically what some of the versions of pedals have become, right? Or
pretty much, yeah. I mean, all that stuff. It's like a lot of those things. They were real cheap. It wasn't that good even to begin with, and someone famous used it, and then there you go. It's worth a lot of money.
Yeah. You can create a whole company around things like that, or industries.
Yeah, for sure.
So on the Place to Burry Strangers side, I guess it's more on the music side. I often think about playlists for specific reasons. You know what I mean? Like I don't have like the blanket, like I want to hear these 10 songs all the time. Maybe there's, a few that are like that. most of them would be made by Neil Young. But other than that, I kind of want a playlist for specific occasions. Like, for example, I had to have a tooth implant put in, which is, like have a tooth ripped out and then, put a big dental surgery. So I created a playlist for, songs for dental surgery. You know what I mean? Like I needed something like that. Or if I'm going to go to or if I'm going on a certain road trip, I guess not just any road trip, but, certain road trips in different parts of the country require different songs. Do you have playlists like this? Am I crazy for thinking of things in this way? And if you do, like what would be on a playlist for these specific occasions?
I mean, I never thought of it like that. I mean, I'm one of the type of person where it's like, put me in that situation and then let's figure out what the perfect playlist is for the situation. But you're totally right. I think I don't know if I would be like, I feel like I'd be too pre-planning. I'd be like, what inspires me after this dental surgery to play or something? It would be the question I'd be asking myself. But that's a great way. You're kind of setting up like the soundtrack of your life or the soundtrack of these events. And that's so true. I mean, different things really like tune in more with what those events are. And I mean, that's such a great thing. Songs for dental surgery. It's, I want to hear that playlist, Randy. That's like, I'm curious. Like when you first say that, I think of all these like super intense, heavy, noise, metal, like crazy things. But maybe you wanted to soothe yourself after the pain. I don't know, so.
Yeah. There was definitely it was the band live, the Rock of Ages. I don't know if you like the band, Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm. There was a lot of that in there. Yeah. No, I was kind of tripping, because there was some narcotic involvement in the surgery itself. Yeah, sure. But okay, but if you had to have a songs for knee surgery playlist, what would you put in there?
Oh, geez. Songs for knee surgery.
Or some kind of dental, or some kind of surgery. Maybe it's not dental, maybe it's knee, maybe it's, nose. You're getting rhinoplasty done. And what is your...
I mean, something really intense, I would say, definitely. Yeah. I think I'd want, and I don't know, probably some stuff that maybe I haven't even necessarily heard. Once you're going to go through something like that, I feel like I'd really definitely want to dive into something, maybe I would try to find out some sort of like weird kind of avant-garde noise stuff or something that I could kind of get lost in or interested in figuring out. But I think anytime you're having one of those sort of surgeries or something, I'll dive into whatever crazy music there is. Like, I think the last time I got like a root canal, I'm trying to think what the heck it was like live Santana or something like that the whole time.
I like
and
it.
It's like, it was, there'd be certain moments when you wouldn't really want to dive into that. But when you're getting a root canal, I'm clinging on to Santana as much as I possibly can, and trying to go into that world because, so I guess I would want to try to challenge myself in some kind of way to like really be intrigued in what the heck was happening. There's a perfect moment to like really focus on the music. You don't want to focus on the knee surgery. Right. So it's like the best time to let your mind expand, I think.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, right? Because so often music can become background sounds. But if you have a moment to really, where you're trying not to think about what's going on, it almost flips it. The music isn't the background; the music is the focus, and the surgery is the background. You're trying to swap your focus.
Totally, yeah.
Of attention.
I mean, so if you get the chance to play a weird show, I mean, try to do it at a surgeon's office.
Ooh. Live music for group surgery.
For surgery,
but not just for one person, right? You'd want to maybe have like 5 or 10. I like.
Oh, definitely.
I like this.
Sure.
That like takes this. That's a whole new level. You could work with some kind of surgical outpatient thing, and we're going to provide a live soundtrack that's going to help somehow in the healing process. I mean,
it would
process.
Probably help you think about it. Like, I would love that. I mean, you're sometimes in those kind of situations, like either bored out of your mind or something. So, playing for music for people at hospitals or wherever, that would be awesome.
I love it. Yeah, these things all feel like they should have like some kind of like a H.R. Giger inspired kind of cover art, though, like live music for group surgery, or this is some kind of psychic TV sort of kind of area. And then And then you also, I didn't want to pass up Dead Strange. You created a record label as well, so you didn't have enough to do with fronting a band and running a pedal company. You decided to throw a record label on top of everything anyway. And then you also got into video games, which I'm going to ask you about in a minute too, because I don't know anything about that.
Sure.
But before we get there, record label. What was the impetus behind that, and how was that going, and what have you learned in that process?
Yeah, I mean, it was always sort of a dream after kind of like doing it so long ago and not really, kind of having the ability to sort of put much into it except for effort. It seemed like now here was an opportunity we could bring, the success of the band and, all of these sort of other endeavors to kind of like push together to hopefully do as much good as we possibly could for artists, really. So, and for the band, it seemed like now was the opportunity to just be wide open and do anything we possibly wanted to. And so it seemed, when the pandemic hit, it seemed like the world was going to end. And so why not, just go for it and try to do this. And yeah, so we started, and then, it's definitely like a lot more work than you think. And so there's a lot more appreciation you have for all the labels that you've ever been on who have sort of helped with all of the kind of like more mundane things, which, nobody's really interested in doing. But it's also been good. We've been able to like bring together more people and working with more people and kind of doing sort of, I don't know, you sort of see like the other side of a lot of this stuff. And, as someone who's doing a label, that you can kind of, focus and do whatever you possibly can in all those areas that you felt like record labels weren't helping in the past, or, make sure that the records are in stores and push them to as many stores as possible and do all the stuff that I like kind of care about as a record lover. And so, it's super hard, but it's also like really awesome to kind of even get to work with other artists that I love. And that's really, really cool to just sort of be in there doing that stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then do you have to use like any kind of scheduling software? How do you keep a schedule? Do you have old school like paper and pen sort of calendar, or is it all on your phone? How do you keep this
it's a
together?
combination. I've got things like my calendar's full of all sorts of stuff, and then we've got like spreadsheets that we're doing stuff, and then I've got, I don't know, folders upon folders on my computers and all that stuff. Some of those things as time, makes it easier and easier as you get better at organization, just kind of staying on top of that stuff. And that's the way, I don't know, a lot of those things where I was so anti-organization for so long in my life, as you get involved in more things and stuff, you realize it's actually important. But, so...
Yeah. Have you ever had an assistant or a secretary in any of these endeavors?
I think a lot of people feel like they're my assistant or secretary. I definitely rely on a lot of people to do a lot of different things. So, but I think it's also kind of cool. And I think people are sort of, part of all this sort of stuff, and they can get involved in some weird things, which are probably out of their element. Like, I'm sure a lot of people don't imagine they'll be working at a pedal company, or, imagine they'll be, working with a record label, or all of these things. So I think it's kind of fun. I hope it is, at least for these people.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of brings up the idea. I'm obsessed with Walt Disney and sort of what he did. I think as a hyphenate, there's a great example of somebody who just there was really no limits, but for better or worse. But but the tasking of his Imagineers, basically, you drew the backgrounds of this painting, or of this this film, or you created you're drawing characters. Now I'm gonna need you to learn to make roller coasters. Like, yeah, you're really good at drawing. Can you create a roller coaster, a giant mountain where we're gonna go 60 miles an hour on a bobsled? I'm like,
it's
sure.
so awesome. I think that's fun, though. I think it's like I would love it if someone came to me with any of those kind of jobs. So it's good if you got someone with like a crazy imagination and a sort of way to facilitate that. It's like years ago, I couldn't tell someone to go do something crazy like, hey, let's, work on developing some weird phaser, or let's do, go take a plane and go play this crazy show or something, because it just wouldn't have been feasible. So it's cool to like have a little bit of that kind of wiggle room. And even with like releasing stuff on a label, it's like all this stuff is really expensive. And I think sometimes, that's what's holding people back, is like someone's like, do I really want to spend $3,000 on my record or something? Like, people can't even necessarily do that. So it's pretty cool when, I don't know, you sort of like can finagle your life to have all these different outlets which kind of feed off of each other and can sort of make all these possibilities happen.
Has anyone ever come to you with an idea for a DBA pedal that was just so off the wall that you didn't, you weren't able to do, or that you were, or inspired something else? Do you ever get that kind of dialogue going with people? What's the craziest
sometimes
pedal,
still? I don't know. I mean, I used to do a thing where I would make anybody anything.
Well, that sounds dangerous.
Any DBA pedals. So yeah, I made a lot of really silly pedals doing that kind of thing. I think the craziest thing involved like someone actually wanted me to finish their pedal and ended up being like a woodworking assignment. It was like a wooden wah pedal that had like a wooden gear and stuff. But so that's kind of like the Walt Disney go do a roller coaster thing. Yeah, I don't know. Now, we just sort of get the luxury to sort of dive into all these different crazy projects. And, we're like slowly working on drum machines and, mic preamps and all sorts of crazy stuff that maybe is, I don't know, insane or whatever, or computer programming.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And then rack gear. Will there be any rack gear in the future? Have you been keeping up with the resurgence of rack gear?
Is there a resurgence? I don't know. I always loved it. But we're working on rack gear.
Yeah. Really? Oh, that's exciting. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like at least within my own consciousness, there's been a resurgence of rack gear in the last 2 years, and according to all my rack gear really fan pages, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. You want some big knobs to turn your hands on and all that stuff. Makes sense.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun getting a big like case. You know what I mean? I think it's become my Luddite version of the Euro rack system. Like I don't want to be a modular synth guy, but I wouldn't mind having a giant rack to push around on in a flight case, like a Bob Weir or something in the '90s with tiny little cutoff jeans and a fanny pack.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here in just a minute. But I wanted to ask you. One thing that came up in the beginning when we were first talking was, were you aware of Greg Ginn and his sort of, solid state transistor idea then into, was that on your radar as a person starting out and kind of thinking like, oh, cool, I could be a guitarist and a, technical sort of person as well?
I don't know if I connected those dots so like literally or something, but definitely those things, was like, even there was like the guy from Boston and stuff and whatever making all those things, and
the Rockman,
and so it's
was
like
his company,
Rockman and stuff, so it's like those were things that I thought like, oh, this is so cool, people could do these kinds of things, and so I guess it must have had some sort of influence. I don't know. I think I just sort of felt like you could sort of do anything because I had tried so many things and failed at them for so long. It would just sort of do what you want to do and do what you love, and sort of, I didn't expect success out of any of this stuff really. So I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, tell me about the arcade. Like, what is the arcade functionality?
So that was one of our housemates at the time when we had Death by Audio, the venue and living space, and he was into building DIY arcade games, and he would build these cabinets for people. And so when then it started to be these like big cabinet building and arcade game video like parties and stuff that we would have over at our place, and it just turned into DBA Arcade. I really don't even have anything to do with it except for just like if they have a fundraiser, I'll be like, hell yeah, let's make this happen or something. But but it's still just, one of those things that was like an offshoot of all of that different random stuff that had kind of happened.
Amazing.
So it's just kind of crazy. Yeah, but go to DBA Arcade. It's cool. Yeah.
Amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so then this will be my last question, my last little segment here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm calling this the Gear Corner, so we're going to use a little bit of our theater of the mind here. Are you ready? Can you go with me on this journey?
Ready.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Oliver, thanks for meeting me in Gear Corner. This is so cool. Tell me what is in your gear corner? What is the gear that you have around you, and what is the gear that you use to do all your many hyphenated things?
Let's see. Right now, I have around me an Irvine's fuzz. It's like this fuzz. Ooh. It's kind of like does this. Someone gave this to me because they were like, "This is my favorite fuzz. You should really try this out. It's cool. It's just a great sounding fuzz, and it also wobbles around and kind of so that's kind of fun to give a little weird wobble." I've got a Death by Audio Armageddon. This is a sick pedal. Yeah. It's like, it's got just super fucked up fuzz sounds, and so it's always like endless inspiration. It's one of those things where you maybe couldn't sell it to anyone because they'd be like, channels 2 and 3 don't work, and you'd have to be like, working a little bit to make it work. I've got a Ranger Effects Reverb X. These are just pedals I was just using with like yesterday or something. It's so sick. It's so cool. I mean, I love this guy's stuff. Everything that he builds. The gate is wicked. It sounds so cool. Yeah. It just sounds so musically weird and awesome.
I love the shape of it too. Like he's the only person who's those weird shapes.
He was like, so proud of me. He came up to me at one of those NAMMs and he's like, "I'm the first guy to come up with I don't remember how many sides, like 9-sided enclosure." And I was like, I don't know why any musician's really going to care, but that's fucking awesome. So
7-minute abs. 7-minute abs. Don't you know it's 7 minutes? It's not 6.
Hey, man, that
doesn't work. 7 minutes. No. It's got to be that. Awesome.
I got the Death by Space Bender. This pedal is amazing. This is one you gotta have. I don't know. Those are the pedals I was just recording with just the other day, but yeah.
Beautiful. And then this is my random questions about Gear Corner. Cases or no cases? What is your feeling on cases? In general,
what do you mean?
When you're traveling, or do you have guitar cases? What kind of are they? Soft cases, hard cases? What kind of? I mean, you just travel with guitars in a pile. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
so I picture your thing just all duct taped together, a bunch of like jazz masters like held together with bungee cords, and you just put those on the plane.
I use one cello case, and it has like anywhere between 3 or 4 Jaguars all stuffed into the one case. And so it's one bag with all those guitars just hard up against each other. They come out.
Soft cello case.
Soft cello case. Soft cello case. Okay. And I think all the guitars pressed up against each other add to the integrity of the case. Maybe
it's
not.
The tone wood. The tone wood is now squished together, creates more of a blended tone between the lacquer and the wood. Yeah.
I prefer drums not in cases because they're lighter. I prefer amps not in cases because it's lighter. All that stuff. And we use a lot of soft bags, but things do break. I used to travel with like a few twin reverbs, I'd travel on tour and do like 4 twin reverbs or something.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the tour, you'd be left with one that works. And then I got a case for one of the twin reverbs one time, and that one would never break. It was like the foam would enable it to not rattle all the tubes out or something and smash or something. So
could you believe it?
Cases can be really good, but now I just travel with stuff that I can fix, and then when it breaks, you fix it.
Great, I love that. And then batteries. What do you travel with batteries?
I used to be all batteries. I used to be no pedal board, all batteries. Why the hell would someone want to use an adapter and all this crap? But now I use a pedal board, and the pedals don't ever fail. You don't ever have like a weird chord issue because it worked and it works again, and it's just so much easier. But I don't know. There's something fun about batteries.
As a pedal professional, do batteries change the sound? Set it straight. Set the record
No.
straight.
Also, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. And what's the change of the sound? Who cares? That sounds cool. If things sound different, that's it. You just use that to your advantage.
Maybe you could create a Death by Audio like dying battery that you can put, you know what I mean? It's like an upgrade or a special modification you could put in the pedals. Like, here is a 15% left battery, and if you put this in there, it's going to have a certain sag, and was trying to create like the brown tone sort of exactly. A dying voltage sucking thing. But special branded DBA batteries. You know what I mean?
Are you looking for a job, Randy?
Here we go. Well, I mean, we put me on special teams. I could be on special marketing teams. For the next NAMM, just have a box of dead 9 volts, and you can that'll be the business card. Just like you put like a silk screen. Here's a bunch of dead batteries. Hand out the dead batteries, and everybody will remember that. Amazing.
That's
okay,
so good.
And then last 2 questions. Backups. Do you bring backups? Obviously, yes. It sounds like backups are. How long did it take you to have like a backup guitar, backup amp?
I mean, I do and I don't, with that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm the type of person where you can do whatever you can make a cool sound with whatever you got, so it's like sometimes, you don't have a working guitar when you're playing the show. We did this even at a show like just the other day on this last tour, where it's like all my guitars are broken and I'm kind of like holding this guitar sort of together. The ground has come ripped out from the pickup, so I've got like a string wrapped around the pickup to then like wrapped around one of the strings on the guitar, which then isn't going to work with that thing. And you can still, make enough sound to kind of like make the show sort of sound the way it was kind of supposed to, or maybe even kind of better.
Wow.
I mean, that's happened sometimes at shows too, where it's like, I remember we played this show in New Zealand, and it was like someone had let me borrow these like 2 amps. 1 amp breaks instantly. The second amp dies on song like 2 or 3 or something like that. So it's like I'm plugged into the bass amp for a little bit, then I'm plugged into like a DI from the soundboard, and it ended up being wicked. It sounded like so crazy and so cool, but it was part of that sort of struggle and all of that stuff that, because makes it fun and exciting. It's like on a good day, the show works as it's planned and everyone plays every note perfectly and everything. But, then, what's the fun in that? You can have tons of shows like that. It's more fun if someone throws a pie on stage.
Or a bowling ball. Or something, yeah.
Or a bowling ball,
I just got the vision as we were talking about this, that what you should have the pedal board with a strap around. You can play the pedals on your body, and then put the guitar on the floor, and then you have like a couple pedals, like tongs. You could hit the notes on the guitar with like your feet, and then you're playing the pedals up here. Like, this is where the artistry is happening.
Oh my goodness!
Flip it around, right? Nobody says the guitar has to be worn. The guitar should be on the floor, and then we can do it that way. That makes complete sense.
That's incredible. It's an innovator. Yeah, that's so great.
I love it. Okay.
That is great, Randy.
New projects for 2023. And then the last one is gloves. Exactly. I don't know why this question is in there, but gloves became part of my like load in, load out thing. Like, do gloves exist in your case? I figured there are cases for your hands. This is part of our case, question, I guess. Do gloves exist in your life at all? I usually don't use
gloves, but when you're on tour in the winter, you obviously realize the gloves are way superior to just bare hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes lifting things easier. You're stronger with gloves on. I don't know exactly how that works, but it's the truth,
It is. So, you can grab anything.
Yeah, it's great. So I suggest gloves to everyone, but I don't wear them myself usually.
Just like earplugs, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You should have earplugs.
Yeah. You should definitely wear earplugs. I will not, but
yeah. Perfect. There we go. Awesome. Well, Ollie, thank you so much. This has been great. Please, let's give shout outs. Like, where do people find you? Where do you want people to go to learn more about these things and buy all of your records and pedals and everything else you do?
Go to the internet.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
I'm there. I betcha. Yeah, probably. Probably. Yeah, whatever.
And it's Place to Burry Strangers is the band.
Yep. .com. Yep. Whatever. The deathbyaudio.com. Yeah,
Dead
Dead
Strange.
Strange. You can check us out on. I think we have .com, but I don't know if we have much of a website. But there's all those things you can go to. We have merch stores and stuff, and there's I don't know. There's all the bands that are on the label, including you, Randy. Incredible.
Yes, thank you so much for
And
that.
yeah.
I really can't thank you
Oh
enough.
man, the record's
It's been
so
incredible.
good, and the
Oh,
videos, and
dude.
it's just so wicked. It's so cool. It's
Oh,
an honor,
thanks,
man.
man.
Thank you so
No,
much
thank you.
for
Thank
trusting
you.
us with that. It's so cool. So, yeah.
Amazing, dude. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being a guest here on Hyphenate with Randy Randall, and we will speak soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Randy.
Awesome,
It was
dude.
great
Thanks so
catching
much,
up, dude. Heck
dude.
yeah,
Good
cool.
catching up. Awesome. Bye.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, isn't he the best? Thank you so much, Oliver, for sitting down with me, and make sure you guys, everybody, go out and check out A Place to Bury Strangers, as well as Death by Audio Pedals and Dead Strange Records. That's DEDSTRANGE Records. Really cool, Oliver. You're the best. It was really fun hearing about your days starting off and all the RISD days as well. So thank you, everybody. Talk to you again real soon. Bye.